Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sloppy Lab. This is Bottom of the Beaker, the weekly show about the design, the ducks, and the strategy of Keyforge. Everybody, and I do mean everybody's favorite unique deck game. I am JT Russell, the ostensibly sticky, and with me tonight is a man who says it's really not about whether or not you take a mulligan. It's all about the speed at which cards go from deck to hand. I am, of course, talking about Quick Draw, Mr. Quick Draw 3457. How are we doing this evening, Quick Draw?
I'm doing quite well, and I do like to get the game moving at a brisk pace from the start. Shuffle quickly, cut quickly, draw the hand, decide on the mulligan quickly, shuffle quickly again. You know how it goes.
So when we spoke to Riku, my takeaway was that I should stop being friendly and be all business and give him a hard time going in to kind of take him out of his element. And now when I'm playing you, I should be sure to be extra particular about executing my shuffles and cuts with precision to to just drag that out a little bit, you know.
I know you're a magician, so if you're doing some funny business when you're cutting my deck, I'm going to be very suspicious.
You and Marcus watching me like a hawk.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. Oh, speaking of Riku, we didn't even have to say Hexa. There's Riku. Welcome, folks in the chat. Good to have you in. Lively group already. I love to see it. Yeah, and noticing from the title that we are indeed talking about mulligans this evening. This episode, let's say, aspirationally titled "The Sloppy Guide to Mulligans." And quick draw, I have it right here. You don't have to listen to the whole episode to get the Sloppy Guide to Mulligans. This is how you do it. You take your cards, you put them back on top of your deck, you shuffle, and then you draw a new hand with one fewer cards, and that is how you do it.
So you don't put the deck on top of the hand and then shuffle. You put the hand on top of the deck and then shuffle.
My gosh, you savage. Do you really do that?
I don't think I do, no. I don't actually remember now. I'm going to pay attention next time I do it.
So all seriousness, what I usually do is I pick up my deck, I turn it sideways, and then I stick each card individually into a different spot in the deck just to make sure that crappy hand is as distributed as possible from the beginning. And then you hit mulligan button on TCO and you see the exact same hand right back.
Minus one card. Yeah.
Minus one card.
Yeah. I mean, true story. Like, we got to get this story out of the way fast. I was watching a stream by Fudgenator, who was in the chat. And he's going to remember this right away. He knows exactly what I'm going to say. He looked at this hand that he had on stream, and it was a terrible hand, and he mulliganed it, and he had 5 of the 6 cards were the same exact cards. And then he drew like a couple cards after his first turn. He literally drew the other card that he mulliganed back. Like, he had the same 6 cards on top of his deck on TCO, mind you, after mulliganing and drawing his hand. It's on stream. You can look at it. You can watch it. It happened. I mean, I think we calculated the odds of that happening, and I don't remember. It was absolutely minuscule, like 1 in a million.
I think it was something like 1 in 2 million, which is beautiful, and has spawned no. I'm so glad that moment was captured on stream. It was truly a magical moment, and has given no end of fodder to the TCO tinfoil hat shuffler.
It might be it might be the most influential video in like all those TCO is not random people out there. Like, that's what they look to. They look to Murph for their tinfoil hat conspiracies.
A cult leader in his own right. He didn't even know it, but it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
this actually. I was gonna say this actually sparked me to do a review of the TCO shuffler. Being serious here for a second, you won't hear it happen very often over the next hour, right? But being serious here for a second, I did do a review of the TCO shuffler at one point. There is a post up on it on the Sloppy Lab Work blog, reviewing the code, running experiments with the code to prove out its shuffling. And I think I, absent some very strong evidence to the contrary, just have to conclude that Murph is not only quite handsome but also very lucky, and that's just what it is.
I've linked that blog to a number of people on TCO that I don't know, but I would get in games with people and they'd be like, clearly this isn't shuffling right. You're only drawing one house. And they ignore all the other context around how, like, yeah, like I'm handcrafting, right? Like that's not a thing to them. And I've linked that blog that you wrote about that to them. And I even had one person tell me that what was their reasoning? They said that they they didn't trust the code. Like they're like, yeah, I understand the code and I understand what it's doing or what it says it's doing. Their belief was that TCO was not using that code. It was using
Mm-hmm.
something else. So they're like, yeah, that code is legit, but there's more code they're not showing you.
Well, hey, it's possible. It's always possible. I didn't find it, and so my challenge would be, yeah, let's see it. Let's see it. I would love to see it. But in any event,
Amazing.
yeah.
I want to start by giving a shout out to, I believe, a few of the people, and this has been a pretty commonly requested topic, and we finally caved and did it. Um, Outro, aka Prison colon Insinine Choosalicious, just wanted a chance to say that name. Um, he uh, he requested this about a week ago after he and I played. He said, "I'd love to hear your thoughts on mulliganing on the show sometime." And I believe Orion, aka Floxamal, has also asked about it before. It's been, like I said, a pretty commonly requested thing. So, thanks to everybody who suggested it, and finally get a chance to talk about it.
Is that how you pronounce that name? Or are you messing with me?
Oh no, it's real. It's Prison colon Insinine Choosalicious.
Alicious?
Yeah.
I always said Auchuzo or something like that. But
Well, his name is based on the song, and the
okay.
song is Prison colon Insinine Choosal, and his name is Prison colon Insinine Choosalicious.
Oh, okay. Okay. I didn't until this very moment appreciate that his handle or their handle is different from the actual song title. I thought it
It's
was the
because
song.
it's because Sloppy Lab Work always cuts off the last
I
few
was
letters
like,
of his name.
I've never got to the end, so okay.
Never.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, very good. So cool. Well,
Can you
in
can
any
you
event,
can you pronounce it now? I've said it twice now. Can you do it?
uh, no.
I just
I
want to
still
hear
want
you
to say.
try.
I just want to say Prison Colonaceo Chuzolicious.
That's not
No?
bad.
It's
It's not
close.
bad. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll give you
All
a
right.
B plus.
All right. I'll take a B plus.
Yeah.
Things language related, I'll take a B plus. And I have up here on stream for the folks here while following along with us. One of the Reddit posts too, which got some attention to this topic, which was kind of fun, by our poor deleted user who, I don't know, perhaps didn't get a satisfactory answer to their query, and perhaps will listen to this episode and return to the wonderful world of
Hope so.
Keyforge Reddit.
Fun fact: the most common username on Reddit is actually deleted with the square brackets.
All right, they're prolific. They are prolific.
Yeah.
Lots of karma on that deleted user.
Yeah, that's right. So this was from about 7 months ago. So shout out to Deleted as well for suggesting the topic.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, when we talked about this, I was like, I don't know if we can fit this all in an hour. And then you started listing all the little nuances and the little different things we could talk about and think about. I was like, yeah, actually, this is a deeper topic than I gave it credit for originally. So I think this should be pretty good.
This will be fun, and I have a suspicion that we're going to start talking about things that we took as granted, as given truth, and then realize that we did that, but in different directions.
Yeah.
And that's going to be fun to uncover too. So hopefully
sure.
we have some of those moments. But anyway, where should we dive in? Maybe we should just get some of the like nuts and bolts stats out of the way. And
Let's do that.
yeah,
There's a great resource for this already.
Yeah. So on the on Arcana, okay. Do you say Arcana or Arcana?
Arcana.
Arcana. Okay, very good. There is a page on Mulligans which describes, the rules and mechanics of Mulligans and mulliganing. But there's also some commentary, and I think this was provided by Sky Jedi. Yep, numbers courtesy of Sky Jedi. Very nice. Thank you, Sky Jedi. Just around the probabilities of drawing different house distributions for your starting hand. So, for example, for a hand of 7, say you're going first, what's the probability that you draw a 3-2-2, right? And the probability given here is 34.44. So about a third of the time you're going to see a 3-2-2 when you're going first. Cool. So that's good to know. And then kind of goes on from there. So 4-2-1 a little bit more than a quarter of the time, a 3-3-1 about a fifth of the time, a 4-3-0 7%, 8%, and so on from there. And that's pretty interesting. One of the things that stuck out to me is always like, hey, if I'm at a 2-2-2 going second, right? Should that be an automatic mulligan? Like, should that be an automatic mulligan? Can I just do better in the long run than a 2-2-2 if I take a mulligan? And I don't know. Do you have kind of like a gut reaction on that? I guess.
I almost always mulligan a 2-2-2 if I'm going second. I don't like it though because, and we'll get to this more in detail, but I think the one thing I always think about going second if I'm thinking about a mulligan is it can always get worse. I think if you're going first, you can be aggressive with the mulligans. It's not likely to get worse going first, but if you're going second, yeah, you can turn a 2-2-2 hand into a 2-2-1 um, pretty quickly, and it's going to feel really slow out of the gates for you. So I'm a little bit more cautious about doing it as a second player, but still, I will usually mulligan the 2-2-2 unless there's like a couple good cards in my hand that I wanted to see early.
Totally. Yeah, bad mulligan going second does feel way more punishing. This was surprising though to me. So you are better than a coin flip to improve from a 2-2-2 and going second. So I think it was something like, I have the number written down, so I have to say think you're about 58%, almost 59%, to do better than only two cards of a single house from a mulligan of 6 cards to 5 when going second. So more than half the time you're going to have at least 3 cards of a house with a 5-card hand drawn off the top of your deck. And yeah, that's true of a mulligan, or just maybe you're playing a chained game and you want to take the 5-card starting hand. But that was super interesting to me. And that also means if you kind of like take those numbers together, right, what was it, 85% from your initial hand of 6, and you say, what if I'm just being like maximum greed, I'm always hitting that mulligan button from a 2-2-2. If your only goal is to end up with a starting hand while going second of at least 3 cards of a given house, you can do that about 94% of the time, which feels high to me. Maybe I'm just like not great at drawing cards.
Or you're not great at remembering. I don't know.
Maybe.
But I do hear you that going second, I have felt like I don't like my hands. And so maybe that's what you're thinking is like not necessarily getting a 2-2-2 and a 2-2-1, but really just thinking like, even this 3-1-1 that I just got, I don't really like very much. Like maybe it's a 3-1-1 when you have like an in here somewhere that you wanted later and a couple actions that only do something if you're haunted. Like that feels way worse than a 3-card house should feel because your cards are not doing anything for you early in the game. So I think it's probably just a little bit of bias in your memory, and you probably look at that 3-1-1 type hand and feel like it's worse.
Mm. Yeah, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. It is interesting though to think about like the difference between going first and second, because there is a big difference, if not mentally. Almost like when I'm going first, I almost think about my first turn play a lot of the time, and this is maybe a little bit different in a PV era. Or in certain matchups, but I feel like my first turn is less about like advancing the game and more about crafting for my second turn, if that makes any sense. So sure. I'm almost happy to like go down to 5, play 1 if I can dig, especially if I can dig for a good threat or something that's going to give me a little bit of board presence or kind of establish myself a little bit. But I'm almost like, all right, let me take this beat here, this like one play beat, to try and craft for, a micro craft, if you will, for a more impactful second turn than to really like get a lot of turn 1. Yeah.
Let's talk about the first turn plays a bit later. We can come back to that. It was definitely on the plan here. Let's stick with the numbers first. So like you just mentioned that there's a 58% chance of drawing a 3-card hand if you mulligan from a second player position. So you mulligan a 6-card hand to a 5. You still have an above 50% chance of getting a 3-card house in your hand. So that sounds pretty good. But what would make you consider keeping a 2-2-2?
That's a good question. That's a good question. Uh, Gosh, and I hate to say that it depends. It does depend, especially if I'm in a deck with lots of playing a deck with lots of cards that I definitely do not want early, and I don't have them in my opener. I am more likely to keep to roll with that. But certainly, if my 2/2/2 has either uh, cards that are good when played early, like present a threat that needs to be responded to, right? So maybe that's AOA days. I'm gonna deploy a Dusk Witch or something like a
How did I
you
know
know
you were going to say that?
how about half the cards that are in Rector? you
Yes.
know
Well, I
these
mean,
sorts of plays.
yeah, that's relevant. We talk about Rector as like a deck full of threats, right? And you have the Gangernaut threat, you have the Duskwitch threat, you even in some ways have the Project ZYX threat. Like there's, that deck is full of threats, and so I think that's relevant here because if you are going first, you are looking for a threat. And even if you're going second, if you have a 2/2/2 hand, but it comes with a threat, that's a pretty decent reason to hold on to it. Like your opponent, maybe they kept like a 4/2/1 and they want to go into the same house that they just threw a card down from turn one. Maybe you throw down that Dusk Witch, they don't have immediate removal for it. They need to change their plan. So even at going second, a 2/2/2 hand with a threat like that could serve as a lot of disruption.
So and really you could generalize that to say you're looking for things that can start generating value immediately. So yeah, Rector has witches. It's got the Dust Witch, it's got the Taliga, but you've also got things like Director ZYX, right? Which is going to maybe not threaten to generate a whole ton of amber, but is going to start archiving
Mm-hmm.
immediately with the start of your next turn and kind of begs to be removed, or it's gonna maybe run away from the game.
Yeah.
Um,
Passive
Totally.
abilities, though. Passive abilities are a really good turn one play. So
So
if you have those, like a mother as well is another one,
yeah,
or daughter. Um,
or yeah, mother daughter, or gosh, what's the exhaust one of your dudes to draw a card?
Articulated Wren.
Articulated Wren. Love an
Yeah.
articulated Wren.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Articulated Wren is a great. So I have a deck, Key Quick Draw is an Amber Skies deck with tons of house pips. Almost anything I see in Logos is like a great first turn one play. There's a daughter, there's two Articulated Wrens, there's the Mars pipped Arcanomometer. There's a Candle Unit is actually a pretty nice turn one play. Just gives you a little bit of efficiency from a big body if your opponent's trying to set up a board first. So like I guess it's you know we can single out Logos because Logos is a house that has a ton of great first turn plays. Like the Eureka being a prime example. Unity Prism, as someone mentioned in the chat. All this efficiency, sloppy lab work. That's what you want to see early in the game because if you have that efficiency, you're seeing more of your deck early on. If your deck has two slow houses along with Logos and your opening hand does not have any Logos, that game might be a bit slower for you. And by the time you get that efficiency at the bottom of your deck, you might be a little bit too far behind. Like so you want that efficiency early in the game as opposed to mid game.
Yeah. So here's a fun one for you, Quick Draw. There's this is maybe outdated wisdom, but for a time, artifacts were heralded as very strong first turn plays. Are you like happy to be playing an artifact turn one, or do you like mulligan for an artifact?
I very early on in my playing days, I played artifacts turn one. I was like, this is great. I'm going to play this artifact turn one, and then every time I call that house, I can use it. It's going to be great. And then one of my friends who is a much better player than me was saying like you're not going to get that much value from these artifacts, and whereas a creature might be able to reap next turn. I used to love if I had like a 4/2/1 hand, for example. I used to love going for that one and playing that going first. Sometimes it was like an artifact, something like that, because then I could play the four the next turn and then draw four cards from there. Whereas if I just played a one from the four house and then played the other three the next turn, I'm only drawing three on my second turn. Um, so it's kind of not exactly the question you asked about the artifacts, but I I don't focus on artifacts now. I focus more on putting creatures out first so that I can reap with them instead of maybe getting potential passive value from an artifact.
I see a lot of the chat agreeing with you too, which is interesting because I do feel like for a long time it was pretty common, in vogue to run out artifacts early in the game, and even in researching some of the literature, as it were, that's out there on this topic, we saw articles from the days of yore that espoused that opinion. Interesting too. You said yeah, with a 4-1-1, is it better to play one of the ones or the 4?
Well,
That's one yeah.
I meant going first. If you're going
Yes.
first and you have like a 4-2-1, playing one of the ones, I do it a lot. I don't know if I do it more than half the time, but because I still do try to consciously like establish the board and try to play something that I can use on my second turn. But sometimes that getting that little extra card draw from that one, or if maybe that one is Logos and it's a daughter, then that passive value is really nice on a first turn, even if you don't expect to be able to reap with that. Just getting to draw extra on the first turn from that, maybe even drawing extra on the second turn if they leave it alive, I think is usually too good to pass up.
That's cool to me because I've from a long time have been on the like play the one. If I'm opening a starting hand 4-2-1, so 7 cards, 4 of one house, 2 of another, 1 of the third, I would almost always play the card that's of the one house with that one card, just hoping for more efficiency on that
Right.
next turn where I lead out the 4. And this has gotten me into trouble with particularly against Not Tonight, who I think is more in line with your way of thinking, when I would have either befuddles or control the weaks, and anticipating that a person like me might try and like push some of the lower quantity houses out of their hand on the first turn. Then you can like control the weak them back into that house and hope that they've got a turn that's like just reap or replay one card. And she'd say, oh no, actually I have like 4 more of this one or 3 more of this one.
Yeah.
And that's just like a different behavior than I would
Yeah.
typically do. Yeah.
It does come down to play style as well. I think, your decision on what to play in your first turn. I just said a minute ago we're not going to talk about first turn plays yet, but here we
Yeah.
are. I think it is very related to the topic of mulligans because when, just to back up a little bit, when you get your hand, you're not just looking for great splits of like a 5-1-1 or a 4-2. You're looking for what is your first turn play. And I actually want to extend that when I'm looking at my hand and deciding to mulligan. I'm extending that to say, okay, after my first turn, what's my second turn going to look like? So it is really important and related to the discussion of like how to mulligan to think ahead a turn or two. Because if you have a nice, cool, like, you know, 3-3 hand or something like that, and you're going second, you're like, cool, I'm going to drop these 3, but maybe those 3 aren't something that you want to go back into. And then you have to really think about what is my turn after this going to look like when you decide to keep. Because then you're like, maybe if it's like a 3-2-1 and you play that one, well, you're only drawing 1 more. It's not like you're going to really improve on the rest of that hand very much. So it's really important to think about your early game strategy and what your deck's trying to do when you make this decision.
Yeah. I like that a lot. And I think it also kind of alludes to maybe how difference of playstyle or deck affinity or just the types of decks that you tend to play may impact your behavior when it comes to mulligans. And one, understanding what your deck wants to do, understanding what the other deck wants to do, and then kind of putting that together into an idea of what you're trying to get out of the early game, right? Maybe what you're trying to get out of the early game is I need to get an early rage reset and like knock my opponent down a peg and then like create a window to like leapfrog into the middle game. Or maybe you're playing Rector and you're like, first 2 turns I need to have like a witch on board, or I need to have like a threat that needs to be responded to, so that I can kind of like leverage that into tempo that's gonna like put me ahead in the middle and late games. I tend to play games like or decks that are like Zyger, which are less of trying to make a big splashy move within the first 3 turns, but are trying to like reach an end game state where I've got, the machine assembled or a bunch of pieces on board. And so like eking out efficiency is more important than finding the witch per se. And so that kind of like manifests in how I tend to look at, mulligans for those games. Yeah.
Yeah, obligatory shout out to Astron and Empathy because that's really relevant here. You are you're obviously you want to understand what your deck's trying to do. That's the first thing that you should think about when you're mulliganing. But you also want to take the time to look at your opponent's deck list at the start of the game to understand what are they trying to do, and what are the threats that they might present to me. What answers do they have to my threats? I guess a good example. I happen to play a lot of Whirlpool decks. I'm not sure if you know that. And one of the first things I look for anytime I'm playing a Whirlpool deck is how much artifact control they have. And if they have, like a couple Hawks and a Poltergeist, then I'm going to be like, okay, well, like my Whirlpool is not long for the world. I need another backup strategy. But if I look and see that their deck has 0 R, where they have no way of removing a Whirlpool from the board, and I really want that Whirlpool in my deck, if it's advantageous for me in the matchup, I might mulligan for that Whirlpool. But understanding what answers my opponent has is going to influence my decision in what to mulligan or whether to mulligan or not.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah. I see Murph in the chat saying, yeah, sometimes you just have all the pieces in your in your opener and you play them over the first 3 turns. But I've definitely with Zyger, and I'm sure you've done the same with Whirlpool decks that have this sort of counterplay, right? I may mulligan a hand with my key artifacts in it because I don't want to have them until I've, played the jar so that I can stop Proclaim by Nature, or played or had a chance to like Infernus their artifact removal or whatever. So like definitely understanding what your opponent's doing and how it interacts with your plans is huge here.
Yeah, absolutely. I have the Arcanomometer deck I talked about. I've played a number of games where I saw my opponent has like a Borrow or a Snecklifter or a Bondsman Belvin or something like that. And normally, if I see the Arcanomometer in my opening hand, I'm keeping it, just like automatic keep. But if they have any kind of artifact steal in their deck, not just artifact control, but artifact steal specifically, I see that artifact and it's basically a discard to me. So it's basically a dead card in my opening hand. And so that's going to influence the math in my head of, do I want to keep this hand? Sure, it's maybe it's a 3-2-1 hand that's not bad, but of the 3, there's that card that I'm about to discard. So it's basically a 2-2-1 hand. So yeah, there's a lot of different things you should think about with the matchup. If something is not going to help you, if it's going to hurt you, then that's, you're not going to mulligan for it in that case.
Yeah, and I mean, interesting too in the world of house pips. I mean, a lot of the numbers here, certainly the numbers that are on Arcana, assume no house pips, and that's right. Absolutely changes things. But yeah, very interesting how that not only impacts your efficiency throughout the game, but also impacts how effectively your deck mulligans and how strong your starting hands look.
Yeah. You had defined a few different types of mulligans that we could talk about. You talked about like offensive mulligans, defensive mulligans, mulligans to protect some certain late game cards that you want. So would you describe the mulligan, like if you're making a decision to mulligan, there's different types of mulligans, different reasons to mulligan? Is that accurate to you?
Yeah, and I think a little bit of this comes down to like that idea of determining who's the rush from the beginning, who's got the initiative, who's kind of like in the seat of trying to apply pressure in the early game, and whether or not that's your kind of your role or what you need to be doing. So again, taking Rector's almost always mulliganing offensively, at least when I'm playing it. Won't speak for everybody, but I'm probably mulliganing if I'm not finding a witch or some sort of threat that I can deploy from turn 1. And I'm doing that offensively. I'm searching for pressure to apply to my opponent. On the other hand, if I'm facing Rector, I may be giving the side eye to any hand that doesn't have a way to deal with a Dusk Witch or a Taligo or a Director. And so I'm making mulligan decisions, but less so that I can find a hand which lets me apply more pressure, and more one that's seeking out some like reactive elements or ones that are a bit more defensive. And I'd put the protecting my late game cards kind of in this defensive camp, though it's maybe a little bit of a separate concern, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think the late game cards is like, if you get an opening hand with too much to protect and it's your only too much to protect, and you really
Mm.
want to keep that threat alive, then getting an opening hand with that is, you want a mulligan to get that out of there. Just having that threat in your deck later, even if you don't have it when you need it, that threat of it being there is still really important in the game. And so if you get that early, are you really going to chain yourself with it the entire game to have that threat present, just to potentially have it when you want it? Or are you going to throw that back and, maybe you'll redraw it anyway in a turn, but it's fine. I think those are the kind of cards and situations where it's fine to throw it back and say, like, okay, I would rather have this later and not chain myself with it, as opposed to, just discarding it or playing it for a pip and not getting any value.
Yeah, totally. And that's so tough too, because I feel like there are a lot of games which get lost because rather than chain yourself, someone plays out a card like TMTP early to get it out of their hand, or vice versa, right? You get saddled with it and you feel like you have to keep it when maybe it was better off played. But I like this sort of, let's say, mulligan to preserve a late game card when you can kind of recognize its importance, but its importance at a different stage in the game, and shuffle it back. Because in reality, I mean, if your plan is to hold it for 4 turns, I mean, gosh, a chain from turn one is effectively, the same as starting with a 5 card hand anyway. If you were going second, and you're just may as well take that mulligan
Yeah.
and try again. Yeah.
I think so too. I think there is a different type though here. So let's talk about a deck that doesn't have a ton of board wipes. Maybe it has a gateway to dis. You get that gateway to dis in your opening hand, and you're facing a board flood deck. You might be thinking, "Oh, I want this later in the game
Mm,
when they have a board," but that's the kind of card where if you don't have it, you might lose the game because of it. And that is a different type of card, I would think, in this evaluation than a TMTP is. The threat of TMTP stops a lot of actions, but if you have just a single board wipe and your opponent makes a huge board on turn two, um, you know, that's a threat against you, right? Like the TMTP is a threat to your opponent. So if I see a gateway and I know that I'm going to need it and it could make or break the matchup, I might be inclined to keep that hand, even if it's less than stellar, just to have that answer. It's a different type of like keep decision than a TMTP would be, because your TMTP is actually still giving you some value while it's in your deck. Your gateway to dis is not giving you any value when it's stuck in the bottom of your deck.
yeah, that's a tricky one, and it's the sort of nuance that I love, and why mulliganing is such a skill testing element of the game. Yeah, yeah, there are definitely reactive elements that you just kind of need to have when the moment is right, and it absolutely is the correct call to seek them out aggressively early and then chain yourself with it until it's right to be deployed. Just because not having it when it's needed is going to be so bad.
Yeah.
Um,
And so, like the Dusk Witch example that you gave too, having an
mhm.
answer out of hand is most important early in the game, because later in the game, if there's a Dusk Witch that comes on turn 3 or 4, you should hopefully have a couple creatures on board at that point that you can pop the elusive and fight it. You know, some exceptions behind a taunt, or maybe they just board wiped you, something like that. But you have other options at your disposal later in the game. Having that answer turn one when you don't have a creature as a potential answer for that, I think is important.
Totally. Let me kind of zoom out a second and ask you: do you feel like you tend to mulligan more often than not, or you tend to keep more often than not?
Hmm. I have never checked. I've never actually thought. My gut says I probably mulligan more often than not, because when I go first, I feel like I mulligan probably like 80% of the time.
Okay, well, let's break this up then. Going second. Do you feel like you mulligan more often than not, or keep more often than not?
I would say I probably keep more often than not going second.
Okay,
Because going second,
interesting.
I always think it can be worse. That's like always, like literally, if I go second in the game, first of all, I'm the kind of person that I always want to go first. Um, always. I don't think there was like a very short period, maybe it was Amber Skies, where I was like, I'd rather go second. I don't remember exactly when that was, but almost exclusively in my entire history of playing this game, I want to go first. And so if I don't go first, if I have to go second, and I'm making that decision to mulligan, I'm always thinking this hand could be worse than it is right now. Do I really want to do this? It could be worse.
Quick Draw's a glass half full guy when it comes to that opening hand. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I had a game last week where I was playing. It was a second amber game, Kagi second amber game, and I was playing a Dark Tidings deck. I had a 3-2-1 hand going second, which is pretty good. Um, I had the Rooftop Lab, and they had no artifact control, so I was like, "This is great. I want this." But I was trying to think through like, what are my, my possible, like, what's my path here? I had a think twice in that Logos hand as well, so it was like Rooftop Lab, think twice, and I want to say an Armadrone.
Mm.
So it was like, okay, I don't want to go with that three hand because the think twice has no value on turn one. The Rooftop Lab is no immediate value, and the Armadrone's cool, great, but like, do I want to hold the think twice? Because this deck has like two Illusions of Grandeur, and then being able to play like an Illusions of Grandeur, and then your opponent's like, ugh, I don't want to give you three amber. I'm just going to time walk myself. And then you go into Logos and you play four cards, including I think twice the same thing. It is brutal disruption on your opponent. So like the think twice is important in the deck. So I had this opening hand of a 3-2-1, and I was trying to think through like um what's my path here? Do I really want this? I ended up keeping it, and I think the two was in the unfathomable, and I played the two just so I could play a Wicolia and the illusions and hope to get lucky on the illusions. Whereas normally you like, if you get the 3-2-1, you're almost always going with the three on your first turn because you want the efficiency. I ended up going with the unfathomable that time on the two, and it paid off. It worked out, but it was one of those awkward hands where you think like, man, like this could be worse, but like think about a plan for like, what are my first few turns gonna look like with these cards in my hand, and maybe that plan looks a little bit better than what a five card hand that is terrible ends up looking like.
Yeah, I actually think I'm in a similar camp. I think I'm pretty aggressive on turn one mulligans and tend to be a little bit more conservative on going second mulligans. And I again think that's a little bit due to a bias from the decks that I enjoy playing, where I tend to gravitate towards decks that are a little bit grindier and looking towards like eking out late game value, and us what they're looking to get out of the first few turns is really just like getting through deck and uh, and seeing more cards, and that alone is kind of like big piece of the want from those first couple turns. And so like if I see a 3-2-1 or if I see a 4-2, even if they're not excellent, I'm more inclined to keep. But I don't know, maybe I need to play more of these like proactive aggressive decks, and that would shift my thinking a little bit.
I don't know. I play pretty aggressive decks, and I think similarly. So I'm not sure if there's like an archetype for like the type of
Mm.
deck and the type of mulligan. Maybe there is. I think every deck has certain things that they want early and certain things they'd rather have late. Um, and again, like we talked about the matchups, if Zyger really wants its Eaton's Jar, or it wants its Animator and Transporter platform to survive, then just the existence of artifact control in your opponent's deck is going to influence if you want those in your opening hand or not. Um, but yeah, the thing with going first and why I'm so aggressive with the mulligans is because if you mulligan down to six card hands, not only can you still just play one, so it's like, okay, you get a 2-2-2, who cares? You're just playing one anyway, but you're getting to see another card as well after that turn. You get to draw something. And then you mentioned PV earlier, like you throw PV into the mix and it changes the math even more because your first turn going first with PV, if you activate a prophecy, you're still going to draw an extra card. And if you mulligan to try to get a little bit better of a hand, and it maybe you didn't improve it, maybe it's still not a great hand, but you're going first, you play one, you put one into the prophecy, then you're drawing two more cards. And so like that's why the efficiency is, people talk about it for obvious reasons why the efficiency in PV is so good, but like it really helps your early game too, being able to see those extra cards when you go first and still get to draw, and you still have that luxury of uh, the mulligan to try to get a better hand. I think the mulligan going first for me really serves as a way of like changing the expected value of your opener. you're not really losing much expected value when you mulligan going first, and so you have a really good chance of improving your hand.
Yeah, and it goes without saying we've been talking about plays a lot here, but good first turn fate effects are certainly a consideration if you can get if your deck features 2 or 3 rage resets or reiterations, and you have start of turn prophecies that are going to fire guaranteed. Uh,
Hmm.
this is absolutely a consideration on
Yeah.
your first turn for sure.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
consider the Rage Resets pretty similar threats to like a Dusk Witch. Like
Yeah.
that's a card where if you are playing an aggressive style and you want to mulligan offensively and try to find a threat, you're looking you're looking for a Dusk Witch. You're looking for the Rage Reset, especially if you can trigger it automatically. Those kind of things I think have in sometimes similar amounts of disruption to the opponent.
Yeah. I was knocked out of the Archon Open at KFC by a turn zero from me, rage reset, and I was like, all right, I guess that'll happen. But quick draw, I have to toot my own horn here for a little bit. I was going through the results, and thanks to the GG folks for providing them for the Vault Tours and KFC this season. That's been really nice to see. I had the highest finish for an FFG era deck at the KFC Open, which was pretty cool.
Archon Open, and there were
Archon
what,
Open.
72 players? Is that right?
72, I think. Yeah.
70 something, and you finished 17th.
I think it was 17th. Yeah, 17th. Mm-hmm.
That's impressive.
For a dusty old mass mutation deck in
Yeah,
the sea of PV, not too bad. Not too bad.
yeah, that old fossil.
That old fossil, still good, still good. And they tried their best to weed us out. Murph and I think there were three. I think there were three FFG decks in the Open. We got paired up round one. Oofa doofa.
That's what
Oofa
happened
doofa.
in the World Championship of the first year. It was the woe meta, and there were, I would say, I don't remember how many of the 20. I think it was 36 that first year. Maybe it was around 30. Whatever it was, there was mostly woe. I would say like half woe. Um, but then there was like a few Coda and AOA, and of course they paired me up with the Coda and AOA. Two of the first three matches. When I brought a deck that was like, oh, I really want to play against woe, and yeah, they're just getting all those old ones out of the way against each other early on. That's what they do. Conspiracy theories abound this evening in this
I
episode.
I know we're gonna have to go to Costco to get some more tinfoil
Yeah,
after the episode.
we got the TCO Shuffler conspiracy. We got the FFG era deck pairings conspiracy, and
Mm-hmm.
always pairing teammates. You and I have been paired up how many times in Vault Tours?
At least 2 or 3, which is probably how the number of vault tours that I've been able to make it to. All of them, 100%,
Yeah, there you go.
100%.
I'm sure other teams that have more teammates together, like Reap Out, ABR, can probably say that happening even more often because there's so many of them.
Yeah. Well, this is cool. Yeah. I don't know. I was thinking maybe we would pull some sample hands and see if we differed, but it may not make for good radio.
Well, there used to be a Discord bot that could do this, right? You remember
There
this?
used to be. There was talk here about it as well. I remember hearing of it, but I don't know that I ever used it.
I could have sworn that you and Not Tonight would just like sit in the bot channel and just like look at hands all day long. It sounds
may,
like
may,
something you guys would do.
maybe I'll have to do some scrolling, and we'll have to see. Yeah,
Not Tonight will remember. I know she will.
yeah, yeah.
Um, maybe yeah, if that bot doesn't exist, I bet you it still exists. You just have to know the right command for it. Um, and I bet it could come back pretty quickly.
Mm, yeah. All right, I'm
Yeah,
gonna have to do some research. It's gonna be some. It's in the show notes, folks. If you're listening to this in the future, it's almost surely in the show notes. A link to
surely
that
is.
bot. Yeah.
We will find it. And if anyone remembers it, we were talking about in the chat. Please just drop a link or give us some info there. We'll share it. Um, so it wouldn't be an episode of Bottom of the Beaker if we didn't talk about adaptive.
Okay. Yeah.
So Kagi is wrapping up, and obviously with Kagi, you have if you go to game three, there's going to be a player with chains. Um, if you are the chained player, say like five chains, we'll start with there. Like your hand is going to be one less. Um, what does that do for your math on mulligans?
Yeah, good question. So a 5 card hand, you're still doing pretty well to get a 3-2-1. So you're or not 3-2-1, at least, sorry, excuse me, at least 3 cards of a given house, right?
Yeah,
So you'd kind of think, oh, 2-2-1 is my most likely. In fact, you're most, which may be true, but in fact, you're most often going to see at least 3 cards of a single house, about almost 60% of the time, which was surprising to me because I don't know, I would have imagined it would be kind of lower. Um,
hmm
but I mean, checks out. And then going below that, I didn't actually run the numbers for ahead of time.
yeah. The mulligan commentary on Archon Arcana does not have a four card hand. They were not thinking about adaptive. But I would say going second, if you get a 2-2-1 hand, you mulligan that to a four.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking less about like hoping to get into a 3-1 hand and more about what is my first and second turn game plan going to be. I think
Yep.
when I play as a chained player, depending on how many chains you have and what the matchup is, I find myself often playing the early game as a way of like treading water and shedding the chains. And I care less about like, oh, I got to find my Dusk Witch with a four card hand. I care more about like, okay, what can I do to stay somewhat in control of what's happening in the game until I get my chains gone and I can really like get my engine fully going. So I think in a chained game, maybe it's like even if you're having like, especially I think if you're having seven more chains, I care much less about what my house split is and much more about, establishing a board. Because if you get like a 2-1 hand, you mulligan into a 2-1 hand and you get two creatures, that's actually pretty amazing. Um, your hands when you have chains, you're only refilling to four or five cards instead of the six. Um, and so I care less about what I'm drawing and more about getting a board presence. And if I draw like into continue to draw into like a 2-1-1 hand when I'm chained and trying to get down to six chains, I don't actually care if it's a 2-1-1 hand constantly. If I have two creatures on the board, those two creatures to me have more value just going back into that house, playing a single card, shedding a chain. So when I'm playing with chains and deciding in the mulligan, I'm thinking less about the hand split is my big point, and more about like the early game plan and shedding chains.
Yeah, interesting how the plan may shift. Does that kind of track for you regardless of whether you're playing sort of the deck which was the rush deck in the first 2 games pre-bid versus the deck which was the quote unquote grind deck in the first two? And I say that because I tend to go higher on bidding when I'm bidding on the deck that is already trying to drag out the game because I'm more like comfortable. I have more affinity for playing decks which are trying to drag
Mm.
out the game, and so like that like jives with me. But I'm less comfortable being the player who is picking up the rush deck, also taking chains, and then now having to juggle whether or not I'm still the rush deck in the chained game.
That's fair. Yeah. So the archetype of the deck may influence what you're bidding, um, but does it impact your mulligan decisions?
Yeah, it. I would say so. The hedging answer is my mulligan decision comes down to how the two decks match up with chains as part of the equation now in game three. And am I still the rush deck in game three with chains, or has the
Mm.
equation shifted? Um, it may impact there. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, but as a general rule, I'm very much aligned with you in kind of like my goal now for a chain game is to kind of drag things out and extend things to where I'm like shedding those chains and able to fire on all cylinders. And I'm wondering if that tends to be a function of like the sorts of decks that I like to play versus which other decks folks are going to typically bring. Yeah.
Mm. I mean, the cool thing about adaptive is that you can't decide what your opponent's bringing. So a lot of times they're
Yeah.
going to hand you a deck that is the favorite in the two matchups, and you're going to be bidding on it game three most likely, and whether or not you have affinity for that deck doesn't matter. Like you, and I think I don't think my mindset changes on what my early game strategy is depending on the deck. If
Mm.
I'm bidding like eight or more chains for something, then I'm trying to tread water and I care less about my draws because you're not gonna get your key cards if you have a 3 and 4 card hand. Like
Mm.
you're not fishing for cards, I think, in a chain game. If you're going above 7 chains, that means that deck is definitely a favorite and you're trying to survive long enough to be able to take advantage of the fact that you're a favorite. So um yeah, that's why the math changes in my head on the mulligans, because like I'm no longer mulliganing for specific answers or specific cards. I'm really like, as the favorite with chains, I'm approaching it differently and just trying to get out of that early game before the game's out of hand.
Mm. So maybe to like put a point on it, let's say you're playing a Rector, you might not throw back a hand of 5 or 4 in search of a Dusk Witch if you've got, Nox, Grovekeeper, and like, I don't know, other random untamed dude that's not a witch.
Yeah,
Just because you can now establish a board, move 3
yeah,
cards, and maybe fend off whatever they're going to play for a few turns.
absolutely. Because if you have a 4 card hand, if you're talking about playing Rector as the favorite with like
Mm-hmm.
7 plus chains.
Yeah, yeah,
How good is a Dusk Witch if you have 4 card hands? Like
sure.
that kind of thing, it changes its value as well. Maybe if I have it, I'll keep it as a red herring because like people are still scared of a Dusk Witch. But if I'm playing with like a very small hand and I probably have like a 2/1/1, that Dusk Witch is not getting me that much value. But playing it might make the opponent think like, oof, this could get really bad really quickly. I gotta like go to a house I didn't want to just to take care of it, and that could be one way of treading water and getting rid of chains. But I'm definitely not going to mulligan looking for a Dusk Witch if I have 8 chains in Rector.
Okay. Well, we'll see when Not Tonight wakes up if we are wrong or right.
Yeah,
But I think I'm in agreement on that one. Yeah.
dang,
Yeah.
we got to
Although
find something that Not Tonight will disagree with us on hard.
maybe searching for a director is a better example than searching for
I would absolutely, yeah.
Dusk
That's
Witch. Like,
because the director is a way to tread water. The director is a way to like keep a little bit of efficiency, get rid of those chains, and stay in the game while you're doing it. And so I think that's an okay card to look for. But I'm not gonna like, if I have a, like you mentioned, a hand of Nox and Darna and what was it? What was the other random untamed creature?
Grovekeeper. Let's say Grovekeeper.
Grovekeeper.
Yeah.
Sure. If I have those three in a 4 or 5 card opener for Rector, I'm not gonna throw that back if I'm playing with
Mm-hmm.
chains. I'm not gonna throw that back looking for a director. Like I want those creatures on the board so that I can go back into Untamed, shed a chain, reap, maybe play a card if I'm lucky, rinse and repeat.
Yep. No, I like that a lot. Makes sense. Makes sense. Ooh, it seems that some of the folks here have taken to arguing about some examples. Nice. We'll have to check out those afterward. Cool. Yeah,
Did we
I don't
talk
know.
enough about first turn plays? Is there any more we wanted? Because you know we've kind of dipped into first turn plays throughout the evening. Is there anything more we want to dive into on that? Like when you're deciding to mulligan, what kind of first turn plays are you looking for?
I think we hit on them pretty well. And it may depend a little bit on your role in the match, but I'm primarily looking for either threats or efficiency, and I think those are kind of covered the buckets. I guess you could put disruption in the same boat, but that depends a little bit. The same boat as a threat, but depends a little bit about what's happening in the matchup. I think we covered them pretty well. I don't know. Do you think we left anything on the table there?
No, do you want to give some examples of some cards? I'm thinking like someone in the chat mentioned Treasure Map, and Treasure Map is one that I love. I haven't played a deck with Treasure Map in a while, but I remember playing with a deck with that. I was like, man, I really want to get this. This is why I want to go first, and I want to get that Treasure Map in my opening hand. Um, playing that turn one is just incredible because you're not actually losing any value from the rest of the text, and you're just gaining 4 amber on turn one. It's pretty incredible. Um, I think a lot of omegas and alphas are also especially good on the first turn. We talked about Eureka already. I mentioned
Mm-hmm.
Unity Prism. Commune is another one that's a bit
Yep.
more uncommon to find, but it's a great turn one play. And then
That's
someone
your
also,
that's
yeah,
your
the
untamed treasure map, as it were, in first
exactly,
turn
yeah,
plays.
it's an omega, and it just says if you have, what does it say? Like if you have less than 4 amber, gain four, something like that, or
Yep.
gain up to
Or
four.
I think your amber total becomes 4. I forget the
Yeah.
wording is, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Your amber total becomes four. Great first turn play. Someone mentioned in the chat Archon's callback. So there's a lot of alphas and omegas that are quite good for this. Um, Obviously, there's some omegas and alphas that are not good. You know, binate rupture. Who cares on first turn? Unlock gateway. No bueno. Swindle doesn't do anything. So, um, but there are others. You know, like when you have this different like yeah, Archon's callback, for example. If you're going first with Archon's callback, it's incredible. You're going to have an 11 card hand on your second turn. Possibilities open up pretty widely there. If you're going second and have like yeah, a 3-2-1 or even a 4-2 hand with Archon's callback, it's less good. If you have a 4-2 hand with Archon's callback, you're going to end with 7 cards. It's like basically a single turn daughter. It's not great. So the value of that card is interesting because it changes so drastically in your opening hand whether or not you're going first or second.
Yeah. Yep. A lot of interesting ones. Yeah, Flaxia getting mentioned as automatic value on the first turn. That's also
Hmm.
potentially going to be reaping. So, yeah, totally. I mean, these are interesting too because they're also it also begs the question of which of them do you keep an otherwise mediocre opening hand for, right? So I think Orion asked, right, like, okay, you like treasure map. Do you keep treasure map if it leaves you with the 2/2/2, or are you like,
Mm.
maybe I'm now thinking about ditching this hand because my next turn or next two turns are maybe not super impactful.
That's a good point, and that's a really good thought exercise. So if you have a 3-2-2 and you have 3 in shadows with the treasure map, you get a lot of value from playing that first. Whether or not I want to keep that, if that's enough value, is going to depend on what does my second turn look like.
Mm.
So if my second turn is maybe like a silver tooth and an umbra, that's not bad. You know, like you get an extra reap, you get 2 creatures on the board. You can go back into the shadows to increase your chances of drawing the other 2 houses, which is good. Um, if your other houses, though, like that you're following up on your second turn, aren't really anything, like say you're playing like, I don't know, a Dexter and another logos card for no value, like that is less appealing. And so maybe I won't take the 3-2-2 with the treasure map in that case. But it again, like it's going to come down to, okay, I need to think more than just cool. I gained 4 amber. I also need to think what am I going to do after that as well.
Yeah, and I like that kind of ties back to think less about looking for individual cards and more about what's your goal for the first two or three turns of the game, and does this hand get you to that, or is it maybe you've got a flashy tournament play, but do you fall short of what you're looking to do in the first two or three turns of the game still? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I like it.
What other cards do you like as a first turn play?
Well, I'm curious to get your take on this. Riku asks about my absolute favorite first turn card, and there's been some debate on whether this is a better first turn card or late game card. How do you feel about Atrocity as a first turn play?
I love it as a first turn play, especially if your opponent did not mulligan. If your opponent did not
Mm.
mulligan and you have an atrocity, like that, them not mulliganing implies that they have like a 4x or a 5x hand, right?
Mm.
If they have a 4x or 5x hand and you play the atrocity, odds are you're going to flip the top card of their deck that is not that 4 or 5 card house. It's slightly in favor of that. Um, but that's pretty good. And that early game disruption gives you a chance to do something else after the atrocity, I'm not going to necessarily keep that atrocity if it's like the rest of my hand is not good. Like you again still have to think, okay, cool. I played the atrocity and I time walk them, but then I just have a crappy turn after that. So what good was the time walk if, you know, I didn't have any payoff with that? Um, but in general, I do really like atrocity turn one, especially if they don't mulligan.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I mean, if your opponent, I mean, even if your opponent doesn't have a heavy shift toward a particular house in their opening hand, they're almost 2 to 1 to not be playing the house they want to be playing right off the bat, which feels pretty good, and I'm cool with those odds. And like you said, yeah, chances are decent if they didn't mulligan going first, that they have more of a house than the other two, and they're likely better than or worse than 2 to 1, depending on your perspective, to go a different house. Not just the first turn, but the turns subsequent to that as well. So yeah, I think it's a very strong first turn, and I'll leave it at that.
There must be a backstory to this.
There was a debate. I forget what the debate was, but there was some debate about whether atrocity is stronger early or late game. I mean, it's strong regardless.
I'm just gonna say yes.
Yeah, it's strong regardless. But
Yeah.
I think Riku is just ribbing me because he knows how much I love atrocity.
Yeah. I mean, put some recursion in the deck and, play the atrocity early game and late game.
There you go. There you go. Why not? Yeah.
Why not? Because
Yeah.
you want to have some friends when you're done with the game.
They're overrated. They're overrated.
Yeah.
You just need one
Wow.
or two.
Wow. There's one or two you're thinking over Crusader and Not Tonight, right?
And then everybody else, you play Atrocity, you play Heart of the Forest, you play your Quixel Stones.
That's why you play against me and you're like, oh, turn one opener, I've got 3 streaks and 2 gubs. Go.
Yep.
And I'm like, this is
Yep.
this is JT playing Keyforge against me. Or you have like the Tesma lock on turn 2.
It's a beautiful thing. And for our next game, we're gonna play the double heavy subsidies.
Oh boy.
Absolutely.
This is why we do ban and bid.
This is interesting. Riku's saying there is no card that could potentially win you the first game, like the whole game, by playing first turn except for Atrocity. I guess so. I mean, that might be true. I'd put, I don't know, some of the prison style artifacts in there, but
yeah,
it gets less and less true as the more the game evolves.
I can say with certainty that Atrocity can feel the worst for your opponent. Like I've played enough games against JDG where I expect Chandra, and I'm like, well, I just hope he doesn't get the Quixel early, and every single time he gets the Quixel first turn. So I think Quixel is probably one that's close to Atrocity in that regard. But I don't know if there's many other cards that are up there with Atrocity.
Yeah, I mean there are definitely cards which present potentially game-winning threats if not answered. But yeah, like he's saying, it is also the card, like one of the cards which also may include in itself answers or counters to the answers that your opponent may have early on. Yeah, which is interesting.
This is a tangent, but one of the things that's not talked about enough with Atrocity is how the card actually gets better the better your opponent's hand is. And what I mean is, like, we just talked about how if they have a 5-1 hand or something like that, they're less likely to flip off top of the deck one of those cards of that house with 5 because, there's only 7 left. If your opponent has a 6-0 hand, if they've been handcrafting Will all game, and then you drop an Atrocity and suddenly, like, they were ready to go for that 6-0 hand, there may not be very many of that house left in deck, and that Atrocity could time walk them a couple times. So it's kind of weird how the dynamic of that, like having a 2-2-2 hand means that, well, okay, the Atrocity's coming down, but at least I can do something. Whereas you get the 5-1 or the 6-0, you're going to have a better chance at a dead turn.
Yeah, I mean, a similar dynamic to Restringundus. it's yeah. Anyway,
Hmm.
anyway, cool. Well, all right. I don't know. I don't know. Quick draw. Do you have any other notes? I feel like we hit a lot of notes here.
Yeah, we the only other thing we were gonna think about playing a Would You Mulligan, but you're right, may not make great radio. If we had the bot, maybe we could do it, but we don't have the bot right now. I'll have to do some digging on that, but I think that was it.
Okay. Right on, right on. Well, maybe we will play a game and see if we have any interesting mulligan decisions
Yeah,
there.
and then we'll just get past the first turn and say like call it a night. Maybe we'll play
We could we
Quick
could play Quick
Forge.
Forge. There you go.
Are you gonna be
Nice.
stuck with Quick Forge on your team for ABR
Uh,
playoffs?
Stuck with Quick Forge. It's a beautiful format. I know we're being a little bit tongue in cheek here, but there was a lot. Quick Forge was a lot more interesting than I thought it was going to be. I'm not going to say fun, but more interesting. It's a little more interesting than I thought it was going to be. Yeah.
Well, I
Uh,
do like that the ABR captains decided to make it no PV in the playoffs.
yeah. I think
I think that's a good change.
PVA ended up skirting the spirit of Quick Forge a
Hmm.
little bit.
Yeah,
So it's a good change. Yeah.
yeah. Those double rage resets and other shenanigans that it offers in Quick Forge. We realized like in the middle of the week we're like, oh yeah, like we all just should have played our best PV deck basically.
Yeah, I mean, Rage Reset hits really hard if you're just racing to a single key. Oh, you shouldn't have hits really hard. Chummy hits really hard. There's
Yeah,
a lot of those sorts of things. I mean, a cosmic recompense in any game is brutal,
yeah.
but when your game is to a single key, then that's really tough.
Yeah.
And
And
yeah,
PV still has like the Tranks and it's got miasma, it's got, things like that that can install that are important in Quick Forge, but
yeah,
well,
hey, maybe we'll play some Quick Forge. But anyway, we'll sign off there. We'll hear a word from our sponsor, I guess.
yeah,
Got to keep the lights on in the old sloppy
do it.
lab. Got to pay those bills. This episode of Bottom of the Beaker was brought to you by Brawling Grounds, the official coffee roasters of Brobnar Giants, with a full day of 1-2 punching and power chords ahead. Their beans are flame roasted, hammer ground, and brewed at a temperature best described as aggressively warm. One cup delivers enough energy to lift boulders, headbang through 3 anthems, and still make it to your first brawl on time. Warning, mugs may shatter under grip strength alone. Drink responsibly, folks, or at least loudly. Indeed. Quick draw, you ever wake up in the morning and say, man, I could really use a fresh cup of brew from those brawling grounds?
I do. I'm a tea guy nowadays, but I still miss coffee. I do like coffee. I have it rarely, but when I do have it, it's Brawling Grounds for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, folks, I should also let you know that Bottom of the Gear was recorded live on Wednesday evenings right here at twitch.tv/sloppylabwork. You can find recordings of our past shows and other streams over at youtube.com. We are at Sloppy Labwork over there. And for the very best content, 34? No, 57 times distilled and scraped from the bottom of the beaker. Search for that very phrase in your podcatcher of choice, and we'll be there to throw your hand back and draw a new grip with you. All that and more at sloppylabwork.com. And quick draw, do you have any words for the folks getting off at the final audio stop?
I don't have any good mulligan puns, so I will just say thanks for listening and stay sloppy.
Nice. Stay sloppy again. If you didn't have any puns off the top of your head, you could always try again.
You could, yeah.
Ayo.
Yeah. We true story, when we were brainstorming this episode, we actually thought about like doing half the episode and then just starting over again. Um we didn't end up doing that obviously, but I thought it would have been pretty funny.
Would have been good. Would have been good. Netrunner reference alert. I will come clean. I don't know that I've ever played any Netrunner, so it was accidental if it was from me. Quick draw, are you a Netrunner player?
I own Netrunner and I've never played it.
Oh man.
Yeah. It's just I don't know where I got it from either. I was just like I should feel like I should own this. I've always heard good things about it. Um I don't know where I got it from, but I have it.
Right on. Well,
Um,
well. Yeah. You feeling up for some games, quick draw?
yeah, I am. Quick Forge actually sounds kind of cool, and
Oh, I could get on
I,
board with that.
I think it's the most relevant thing we can do to showcase Mulligans is play a number of games, and obviously, your Mulligan decision for a Quick Forge game is going to be different than for a full length game, but at least we'll get more Mulligan decisions this way.
I like it. Do you want to put any restrictions on? Are we doing like no PV quick
No
forge? Are we doing?
PV, no PV.
Okay.
And do
Okay.
you want to do triad? So present 3 decks
Ooh.
and ban one, and then we'll play Quick Forge with one of them. Or do you, like so it would
Interesting.
not be okay. So it'll be what I'm thinking is triad with a single deck, but play best of 3 since we're doing Quick Forge. So you cannot change decks between games.
How about quick forge hexad?
No.
Six decks that are all
Wait.
best of one. Six decks that are all best of one.
Uh,
Ban save ban,
mm,
and
three
then
games.
you get 3 games.
Eh, I feel like you're gonna ban all my ones that I want to play then. All right,
that's
you know
my
what?
goal.
Riku's here. Let's do it. Well, no
A
PV, no
no
PV.
PV.
Um,
Well, I'll tell you what, quick draw. I have a tag for a DT hexad. I would throw down a DT hexad quick forge game with you. How about
is
that?
this a DT hexad that is catered for Quick Forge, or is this just your DT hexad?
This is just my DT hexad. I don't think I
Okay.
have. I don't think I'm gonna like throw together an optimal quick forge lineup right now. I think I would play an existing hexad, or if we want to really play some quick forge, I will seek out an ideal one, 1, 2, or 3 quick forge decks. We could throw that
So the
down.
thing is with hexad is I have to think of 6 decks to drop in there.
Do you not have a DT hexad kind of
Oh, I
ready to
do,
go?
I do, but I also have a couple of DT decks that I wish I had tested for Quick Forge that I was hoping
Uh,
to get to play.
okay, throw
Um,
them in. Yeah, throw them in.
Let me see if I can. So obviously I have a DT hexad. I mean, who doesn't, right? The problem with my DT hexad is that 2 of the decks are grind decks. Um,
I'll tell you what. Here's what we'll do. I've got 6 DT decks in my hexad lineup. I'm gonna pick the first 5, and then we'll play 5 quick forge games with those. And you can pick whatever DT decks you want to throw at
oh, we're
them.
playing 5 Quick Forge games.
I
Oof.
mean, if it gets that far, if it
Okay,
gets that
right.
far,
Best of 5.
yeah. Best of 5, BO5,
So you're gonna play one game with each of them.
one game with each of them. Yeah, once a deck's used, you got to bench it. We're here for
Okay.
variety.
All right. So then there's no banning involved. We're just gonna go straight in. Best of 5. Change deck every game.
Yep,
That
let's do
sounds
it.
fun. Let's do it. All right. Um, are you going DT only?
I'm going DT only,
Okay, me too.
as true champions of the sport will do.
All right, DT only it is. I will. Yeah, this sounds wonderful. Let's.
Oh wait, I did not curate my list to avoid key cheats. So if you have them, fine, that's cool.
Just discard them.
Sure,
I don't think I
sure.
do. I'm gonna avoid key cheats. Um,
I think I have some key cheats. I'll discard my key cheats.
okay.
We'll say that.
All right.
Or let's say, oh yeah, that's fine.
Um, so I'm gonna start with the deck that I actually played in ABR Quick Forge. Um,
Nice.
this is the Opalescent Geneticist Undertaker. Um, I won the flip, so I will go first. And let's make our mulligan decisions and then talk about it after we've made a decision. Talk about why
Okay.
without giving up information.
Riku says key cheat is actually more fun for quick forge. I feel like we should just let these decks do their thing. What do you think?
After you bring a key cheat and telling me
Yeah.
not to,
Yeah.
unbelievable. No, maybe next game, not this game, not this game. Nice try.
So you have double
Um,
Cease Forge. Okay.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
keep this one. I like this one. And this is a 3/2/2. Um, I didn't think super hard about my turn 2, but I like a lot of the things that I have going on here, and I'm gonna break a rule we just talked about, and I'm gonna go with an artifact instead of a creature.
Wow.
And I have
And takes
reasons.
the tide.
I have
Yeah,
reasons.
so
Yeah, the tide is one of the reasons.
so I did throw my hand back, and I did so primarily because my deck has lots of burst potential and I had no burst in my opener.
Hmm.
There was absolutely a world where I get to a check in turn 1 or 2 pretty
Oh, I
consistently.
believe it. Oh yeah, double Chelonia, triple Deepwater Gruin, absolutely.
But alas, I'm going to just make a big old steel heart here.
Not bad. That's a big steel heart.
That's a big
Um,
steel heart.
I'm gonna go Star Alliance, and I have the tide still, so we're gonna together, and we are gonna exhaust that Tabor. Don't want anything to do with that Tabor. Play out a
Badoofa.
creature, get a little value there, and gotta use
Nice.
the artifact so I don't have that prompt.
Hmm. So you've got a Thundertoe, got to Call the Void, you're exhausting some dudes with your chance, got Abandon Ship. Yeah. You got some things to say about creatures. I'm kind of wondering what my options are for uh this might be silly, but I'm going to protect this dude here and not take the tide.
Okay. And you have no amber.
Mm-hmm. Which I should have put the creature on the other side there, but womp womp.
Yeah. Yeah, you should have.
Really should have.
I think. Yeah, that Tabor, I can't let the Tabor live. Um, Despite not getting value from the gas pipes, I think I can't let it live. Um,
Hmm. And a Mac the Knife comes down.
yeah.
Hmm. Oh, this is wild. Going into turn 3, 0 amber.
Yeah, this is Quick Forge, JT. What are you doing?
I know it.
You're not drawing Untamed, I guess. That's good news for me.
Um, I'm gonna move some of these Untamed duders.
That's a good Mollymock.
All right, we'll make an ember here at long last. Okay.
Welcome to the game.
No, sorry, Riku. I haven't changed that yet. I will get. I will do it. I'll do it. Hey, Dead Sync. Welcome. Welcome indeed. We're
What's
throwing
up,
down
Dead Sync?
some Quick Forge here. Good times. Quick Draw's making a Mac Voltron. Holy moly.
Yeah.
Mac the Voltron, indeed. And a Cease Forge. Wow. A Cease Forge to go to check. Interesting.
Well, not really check, but
Yeah.
um, it is if you want to play a Blossom Drake.
I know. Where's my refits? I think Not Tonight used them all up. That was quite a cool. That was quite a cool one. Wow, brutality. I think I'm in a tough spot here.
Yeah. Did anyone tell you to just draw better? I mean, where are your deep water Gruins?
2, 3, 4, 4 monies, I guess. But I gotta take the tide. I don't really want to take the tide. That sounds terrible. I'll just sneak that key frog out there when quick draw is not looking. All right, I think we're far enough behind here. I just gotta go for it. Wow, that was terrible, terrible. I need to pay better attention. Quick draw plays universal translator after reaping.
Oh,
To
beautiful.
yeah.
All right. Well, you will get a little burst in.
I will. Um, but man, let's see. Do I want to take the tide? I'm gonna go to check, but I don't think I want to. Yeah,
All
leaving
right.
it. Leaving it.
All right. This is what my deck does. This is the Cease Forge finisher, where I will play a
Nice.
Brain Drain to get rid of that Eddy,
Oofa doofa.
and then a Brain Drain to get rid of Blossom Drake for good measure. Drop a Cowp, Reap, and
Nice.
that's not a check in the log, but it's a check.
That's a check. Yep. Not much I'm doing about that. So I guess just for spite, we're gonna smash this guy.
All right,
Okay.
that's a GG.
Nice. GG.
Yellow key first, of course. Um, there you go. Smash that concede button.
Oof. Wow, that was an embarrassing game on
You just drew
many
poorly.
fronts.
You drew how well I drew during the ABR league whenever I played this deck. I just like drew dead in all three of the games that I played in Quick Forge in ABR this season. So you just kind of did what
I
I did earlier.
I did draw poorly. I also made some pretty silly blunders, but all right.
I don't
So I
think
got
you had enough
three.
amber control to really make a difference there.
Not in how this matchup played out. Surely, I had needed an early, large enough burst early to have my eddies show up and maybe give me a couple turns of grace for when your quick forges cease forges came down. Yeah, but
All right.
Blossom Drake's interesting. It could sneak away with turning them off at the right moment. But in any event, first one to you, quick draw. First one
First
to
one to
you.
me. All right. Trying to find that other deck that I wanted to play. I think this is it.
All right, I'm actually gonna switch it up then since we're going. I have a DT deck that I was going to play as well. Do, do, do.
Yeah, I think this is the one that I was looking at. Let me see. I have it in my team chat. Um, hmm.
All right, I'll make us a new game.
Yeah. I don't know. This must be it. I don't know if I have it in my TCO yet. Let's see. I do. I've played 2 games with it. All right, and you changed as well, right?
Yes, this
We're gonna.
actually is a DT that I was considering for Quick Forge Week.
Okay. This is one that I think I should have considered. It looks like I go first again. I love it. Oh, what was your mulligan last game? Did you mulligan?
I did mulligan. I mulliganed because I had no pips, a key frog, and uh, otherwise very slow hand, and just needed more pressure. So
Yeah,
I was looking for more gas.
I
Yeah.
had a 3-2-2, and the 2 was in shadow, so I wanted to raise the tide. That's why I went with the trickle down. And I knew
Mm-hmm.
my second turn was going to have the together to have some little extra efficiency, which worked out really nicely. So I was happy with that one. Um, this one I'm throwing back because it is not the houses that I want to see. Although, man, this is interesting.
This is interesting. You've got pips. You've got some dino capture and taxing. Not a ton.
Oh yeah.
Some.
Well, let's take our own advice and see what you're playing. So you've got a Cease Forge this time.
I do.
You've got lots of Gruins again. You got the Fertility Chant. So it's important for me to get to 4 to make that Fertility Chant a discard. Yeah, I'm going to mulligan this. And this is immensely better.
Nice.
Um,
Interesting.
let's raise the tide.
Raises the tide. Cool. Cool.
Yeah, I actually had I think there was a 4-2-1 hand that I threw back.
Mm.
But it was 4 dinos. I didn't want to go dinos. Um, and I ended up getting a 4-2 hand with the house that I wanted.
Nice. All right. I'm giving you some money here.
I'll take them all. Give me all the monies.
Oof. Whiff.
That is a big whiff, and I think you're in trouble now.
Probably.
Let's exhaust those Brobnar. Let's play the Gruin. Let's drift it, and
Yeah.
let's reap with it.
Hot
And that's
dang.
turn 2 check. Let's see what you got.
I'm not stopping it. That's not all
Oh,
she wrote.
that's Quick Forge. GG.
Wow. Wow. Oof.
That's how you
Oof.
plan it. You draw your deep water Gruins. Um, the dream actually is drawing a Gruin with Beach Day and just say GG.
Mm-hmm.
That's the dream. But um, all right, let's see. What else do I have up my sleeve? Maybe I should be playing Quick Forge in the playoffs.
Not a bad idea.
Was this a turn 3 win? Yeah, turn 3 is solid. Um,
Badoofa.
oh, this one's got a Data Forge. That's unfortunate. That that Data Forge makes this deck emphatically obsolete.
You looking at Rumi?
No, the deck is the one who is emphatically obsolete.
Oh. Nice.
Uh, oh, this is one that I'm missing 2/3 of the deck. I got this from I want to say Dr. Sheep. Um, it was like a misprint deck that came with like 2 different decks. So I literally have
Yeah,
one
yeah.
house from this deck. It has a Cease
You're
Forge.
you're almost there to play it in tertiate.
Yeah, that's true. That'd be really funny. Um, uh, this deck would be amazing for this if it didn't have 2 key cheats, but it's got two Gruins and 3 Thin the Herds.
Oofa doofa.
This one's got a Key Frog, or it'd be great. Anakim has Honors Kisis and Key Frog, or it would be great. What happened to the rest of my DT decks?
My guy plays so many key cheats.
I'm looking through my DT, and these are all key cheats. Like even Guadalupe has got the Data Forge. Um,
I'll let it slide. Data Forge, I'll let slide
it's never gonna work, right?
for a quick forge. Yeah.
Uh, let's see. I'm going to try to play this by the book. This one, let's do this one. All right, this is a deck I've been enjoying in Second Amber.
Ooh,
Um,
okay.
it's been giving me a oh, Unfathomable. What are you doing in here?
I missed
um,
that. I missed that they wrote the. Didn't mean to ignore. All right. Let's see. Good luck.
Going
Have
first
fun.
again.
My man is too good at quick forge flips. Flora. Yeah, Flora's cool.
Four is very cool. I started playing it in Second Amber because I think we've talked about this a couple times now. The quality of decks is going up in Kagi, and
Yes.
I really want to bring something that has a little bit more punch. Um, and ooh, Westfall is a really good choice for this format.
Westfall's cool. We'll see if it holds up.
Yeah, those three Mooklings are clutch.
Yep.
Obviously, all the pips. I like this, and this is an interesting hand. Um, what is your creature control like?
Good question.
Grand Melee, Cement Shoes, Kerwallop, Booby Traps, Infighting. You have a pretty good amount of control in there.
I
I'm
got
gonna mulligan. I got a
got
3/3/1
things.
here. I'm gonna throw it back.
Hmm.
I think this is a little better. Let's have some fun.
Ooh, hey. So I kept the 4-2. I have a little burst, but I'm also no fun. Ugh,
That's not bad.
it's a thing.
You got some value from the waste knots there.
I did. I did.
What to do about those?
Those dudes, they're gonna be problems.
They are. I'm glad that two of them are here, though. Just how do I kill them is the question. And such an efficient hand really makes me unsure about this now. Because I did like my opener, my mulligan
Illusions are
here.
coming. Yeah.
Yeah, illusions are coming. Um,
Mm-hmm. Back into Untamed, he says.
yeah. You do have a doorstep in there.
I'm gonna play this slow. That's cool. You do it again? Hmm. Stuns them. Okay. Gag attack. Hot dang.
Not enough creatures. No creatures there to get value from that.
Okay. All right.
Looks like I'm not going to stop that. Oh, yes, I can stop that. All right. I'm going to have to pivot, but I can stop it. So let's
Stopping it's a good plan.
go. Stopping it is a great plan. Logos, groundbreaking, and then we're going to think twice the zap to
Huh.
capture. And then we're going to deal 3 damage around. So let's go 1, 2, 3. And maybe that's enough.
Ooh, that's nice.
Maybe that's enough. Got the doorstep. Okay. And you're going to reap. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that will do it. No way to draw. So we're going to go Logos, play that guy,
That's a
fight
more.
to steal one. That is Moray. All right, GG.
Red
Um,
key. Okay.
this is not one of my top choices for Quick Forge, but it's been doing really well for me in Second Amber.
Cool. Well, this has the. No, it's not a key cheat. I guess that's a key break. So that's cool.
Yeah, the key break is real useful here, isn't it?
Yeah, nothing like the old groundbreaking discovery and first to one key.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, 2-1. 2-1 in your
right.
favor. Quick draw. All right.
Making a comeback.
Don't call it a comeback. We'll see.
Key cheat, key cheat, key cheat, key cheat. Everything's got a key cheat. All right, this one doesn't have a key cheat. I like this one. Let's go for it. All right, I haven't played this one in a while. Oh, I didn't hit the concede button. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
You were waiting for it. All right, I'll let you make again.
All right, I have between a couple for this one. Oh, that just has a key cheat. Yeah.
This deck has a very apt name for Quick Forge.
Okay, interesting.
And I'm going first again. This is Quick De Nova. Yeah, I think I got this from Chimera, if I'm not mistaken.
Cool. Hey, it's a Z-Ray off. Nice.
Yes, it is.
Z-Force off.
I remember G-Nor. So let's see. Triple Witch of the Dawn. You've got a Mookling. You got a Sabotage mission for some control. And then the rest of it looks like you need to be on board.
Double brand.
So,
nice.
not a lot. So you do have a Mollymock? No Mollymock. 2 Hornswoggles. Hornswoggles are very good. This is a case where I'm possibly looking to get a Ritual of Life in my opener. But the Hornswoggles make it interesting. But I'm going first again, so I'm gonna keep this. 4-2-1.
I think mine's is a throwback 3-2-1, but looks a little slow for Quick Forge. And some. Okay, interesting. The Fangtooth
Start with the Fangtooth.
Cavern.
Yeah.
Nice.
Hornswoggle that.
I might. It won't do me very much good, but I might. Interesting. There's the Ritual of Life. Those things I may Hornswoggle.
Yeah, those things are very, very good to Hornswoggle.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever drawn this well with this deck in my life.
Sounds like Bren's coming. Do I want to draw back into that? Or put it back in the hand? I don't know that I do. I think I don't want you to come back. Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's the Brand.
There he is. And just gonna go for the Mookling now.
Yep. Makes sense. Dang, that's unfortunate. Huh.
Let me guess. You want to play the upgrades before you fight?
I kind of do. Hmm. Bummer.
This is an insane draw for me.
I think I have to just bite the bullet here. Okay, interesting. Brand number 2, very nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, hits the Brand right away. That's
Yeah.
brutal.
Like I
Well,
said, this is pretty much the best draw this deck can get, I think.
that is it, unfortunately. I mean, steal one more.
Yeah, that's something. There's
Nice.
another GG for the yellow key.
Good game. Well played.
Yeah, I got this deck for that exact reason that you saw, and that took me 4 turns to put that together, and I've never put that together. I haven't played many games with it, but like I feel like whenever I played this deck before, it would just draw upside down. Like it wouldn't have the Ritual of Life early. It wouldn't get the Brens in time, but that was like a textbook what I hoped this deck would do.
Yeah, right on. Brutal. Brutal. Very
All right.
nice.
Well, let's play one more to get the full 5 in. Yeah.
Sure. Have. I will discard my Key Frog in the other deck of my Hexad to complete the.
Yeah, I think my entire Hexad for DT probably has key cheats in every single one.
Okay. Cool. All right. We'll see how this goes. This deck might be too slow for the format, regardless, but it is pretty good. So we'll see.
This one's fun. I think I'll do this one. This is a good way to pop open some decks I don't play enough.
There you go.
This was a gift from
Hey.
Astron, Ricardo, which is a Legacy Time Traveler deck.
Oh, cool. Yeah, yeah. I remember that deck.
Very cool. Evil Twin of Duchess Ventura. I remember this one too. So you are going for the grind in this one.
Yeah, seeing if those evil Chelonias can keep you off for key 1. That might be a tall order. A double Strange Ordination. Oof.
Oh, you're going
I'll
first this time. I feel like we should change it to me for science.
Don't want to mess with the control. Yeah. Hey, that's a keep. Nice
Okay, so
first
I'm
turn play. Good pips.
going, yeah,
Dig
going
it.
second this time. I got a 3-2-1, but we talked about that logos efficiency, so I think I'm gonna keep it.
Yeah. hard to toss back a Eureka.
For sure. Let's go logos. Draw a few. Didn't draw anything.
Uh, this
Not
might be
great. Not great.
this might be as good as it gets.
Yep. I think if you check me here, I'm probably in trouble. Yep. Even with the brain drain. That's nice.
Don't think there is anything. We'll just tuck that for kicks. And why put a dude out?
Yep. Seems pretty good. So the best I could do is stun my creature, exhaust my creature, and GG. That was a fast
Okay.
one.
GG.
So 3-2, close. Um, what was your keep there? Tell me about your hand. Was it just the Eureka, or was it more than that?
I had a Eureka and then 3 pips and Unfathomable in hand. So including the Brain Drain and the two. No, did I have the Brain Drain? I may have had just two Unfathomable pips with the Portals and drawn into the Brain Drain. But the Eureka with at least 2 pips following on the next turn was enough. And it was actually a 4-2-1 with only 2. The 2 was Eureka was one of the 2, so I was really kind of like perfect hand for this format. Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Well, Brain Drain made an appearance twice. I think that's interesting. I think it's a good card for Quick Forge. Especially, I mean, obviously, if you're going DT, you're not going to have Abyssal Sight, but that kind of disruption, I think, is really good.
Yeah, the disruption in the info is really good. I mean, I guess you're almost exclusively using it to safe your key, but if you do need to use it for just an efficiency or tempo bump earlier on, having that info is a nice wrinkle or feather in its cap versus something like Control the Weak or Befuddle. Yep.
Yeah.
Totes.
So, the matchups in ABR are random, so it's not like two teams playing against each other, right?
Right. So how it's going to work, assuming we're doing it the same way that we've done it before, right? Everyone sends a champion into each of the brackets, and then the pairings within each bracket are randomized. So yeah, it's not just like Sith's team versus Riku's team 1st round of each of the brackets or anything like
Right.
that. Yeah.
Okay. There's some good formats. I'm glad, I did ask my captain, Sith, to be like, hey, can you put in some more adaptive adjacent formats? And you guys came through. There's some good ones. I was happy to see Exchange.
Yeah.
Happy to see, what was the other one?
Moirai
Moirai, I
got in
think.
there.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's pretty cool. So leave some good options for players like us who enjoy those type of formats.
So Sith wrote in the captain's chat that there was a request for more adaptive adjacent formats, and we could not imagine who that came from on the team.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I was looking out for my team because Sith did draft a lot of Kagi and adaptive players, and I didn't want to get in a situation where there's like one adaptive format and the rest was Archon, Jank, Sealed, when people like Orion and Aviator and myself and Kalos, you know, all love adaptive. And I didn't want to get in a situation where he had to like pick one of us to get to play one of these formats, but having other things like Moirai and Exchange is cool because we can all find something that we like.
Hmm. With how quickly those other formats rolled off your tongue, I'm imagining that you that you may be the adaptive seat, although perhaps still being debated. Yeah.
Whenever I was like making that suggestion to Sith, I was like, we should have other formats that are like adaptive, like Exchange and uh Exchange. It was like the only one I could think of. I do love Exchange. Um, so but yeah, I think it's a good mix of formats. I think it's pretty cool. I like the tweak. We just talked about the tweak to the Quick Forge. I think was good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, culling PP from Quick Forge makes a lot of sense.
For sure.
That was more fun to brew for and search for decks for than I thought it was gonna be. So kudos on the suggestion there. I think Riku's suggestion. So that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Sith just assigned our team our formats, so
Ooh.
I know what I'm playing, but I'm not going to tell you because I might
Not
play you.
enough jank. Not enough jank. I will. Yeah, I agree. We Zoc Data Force stream. We gotta keep ABR weird. Gotta keep the jank formats strong. You
How
know.
many janks are there? So what are they? I would say the SAS cap is, yeah, it's borderline jank. Quick Forge is jank. Tertiate is jank. I don't know, Zoc. I feel like that's enough jank, I would say.
2 out of 12. Yeah.
Three, I'm counting SAS cap as jank.
SASCAP gets its own seat typically.
Yeah.
There's usually a jank seat, so we've got two instead of the one, I guess. Zoc says there's zero jank. Yeah. Curious to see what people do with the tertiate format. It's gonna be funky.
I honestly, I read it. I was like, that's interesting. I'm want nothing to do with it. I think we did what I think you usually do, which is like have everyone rank the formats they want.
Mm,
I put Alliance last, and I put Tertiate right in front of it. So I was like, I don't want to spend time thinking about this. It's an okay idea. I like that it's different, but I was like, I want no part in this personally.
nice, nice. Well, we'll see. We'll see where folks end up.
Uh,
Oh, I'm probably gonna be taking not an early round pick of formats here. So we'll see if we end up facing each other. Unlikely. I'm say unlikely.
all right. You're probably going. I'm gonna guess you're Archon VM only.
Maybe. Maybe. I also ended up with a number of adaptive fans, so that's the one that folks enjoyed. Have some Alliance aficionados too, which is pretty nice. We'll see.
Yeah, yeah. We had a good season. We were 1 point behind Riku's team in the regular season. Um, so it's yeah, it'll be a good playoff. So it's Riku's team, your team, Sith's team, who I'm on, and then the fourth one is
Zoc's
Zoc's
team,
team, and Zoc's here in the
Exotiques.
chat. So all
Yeah,
all teams represented in the chat right now.
I dig it. It's gonna be
Nice.
fun.
Yeah.
Gonna be fun indeed. Yeah. I love actually I do love these VM decks. I think that the last two VM sets in particular have had like really high like enjoyment factor. You can say, I mean, setting aside concerns about availability and what have you, the like, I don't know, just the made
They
for
are fun.
some good games. Yeah.
Yeah, they're definitely fun. It's very cool. It's nice that ABR gives them a place to be played too.
Yep. Totes. Cool.
All
Well
right.
then.
I
All
think
right.
it is bedtime.
That'd be. That'd
Yeah.
be.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Uh,
It was a fun one and some fun games. We usually play ban and bid, but playing Quick Forge was cool. It was
mix it up a little bit.
yeah.
I dig it. I dig it.
I like it too.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging out, folks, and we'll see you around the lab.
See you, everybody.